All right, let's just jump right into it. Picture this. You convince your boss to spend $180,000 on some shiny new AI tool. And after a whole quarter, you've generated exactly zero new business. Not a single lead. Yeah, this isn't some made-up horror story. It's real. And today we're going to take that incredibly expensive disaster and turn it into a survival guide for you so you don't make the same mistake with AI outbound calling. Yep, you heard that right, 180 grand. That's how much money went down the drain in just 90 days on this one AI project. And what did they get for it? A stack of bills and a pipeline that was bone dry. It's a really painful lesson, for sure, but a super powerful one in what not to do. You know, this quote from the team that actually went through this just hits the nail on the head. The dashboards, oh, they looked amazing. All green, all the activity metrics were through the roof, talk time, how many calls connected, all of it. But the one number that actually pays the bills, real qualified sales opportunities, yeah, that was a big fat zero, a total flatline. So here's how we're going to break this all down today. First, we'll dig into that 180K disaster and talk about the real problem, which is what I call scaling chaos. Then, we'll get constructive and build out a playbook to make sure this doesn't happen to you. We'll cover the foundation, how to execute properly, and the guardrails you need to have in place. And we'll wrap it all up with a super simple action plan you can use in the next 15 minutes. So, what really went wrong here? Was the AI just bad? Nope, the technology wasn't the issue. The real problem was they were just scaling chaos. See, AI doesn't magically fix a broken process. It just takes whatever you're already doing and does it 1,000 times faster, warts and all. This is probably the most important mental shift you need to make. We have to stop thinking about these AI callers as little robot employees that you can just hire and set loose. That's not what they are. You need to think of them as a workflow engine that just happens to talk. It's a system driven by policies, rules that you have to define. Once you get that in your head, everything else we talk about is going to click into place. Okay, enough about the disaster. Let's get into the solution. How do we build this thing right? Well, part one is all about the foundation. I'm talking about the two things you absolutely, positively have to nail down before you even think about spending a single dollar on a vendor. You need a sane outcome and a clear map of your data. Just look at the difference here. On the left, you've got what we call a sane outcome. It's specific, it's measurable, and honestly, it's kind of boring, which is a good thing. Then on the right, you have this fluffy vision statement. It sounds awesome in a PowerPoint presentation, but for actually running a pilot, it's completely useless. You have to be on the left side of this slide. And why is that so important? Because if you don't have that sane, measurable outcome, this is what happens. This is a real quote from the CFO when they were reviewing the budget for that train wreck of a project. When your CFO asks if it's working and you can't point to a hard number that proves the ROI, well, that conversation is over, and so is your funding. All right, the second piece of your foundation is understanding your data flow. And I mean really understanding it. You should be able to grab a napkin and sketch out this simple 4-step funnel. Where's the data coming from? What happens inside the AI dialer? What are the possible outcomes? And most importantly, how do you track it all the way to revenue? Seriously, if you can't draw this out, your project is way too fragile to even start. Okay, so once you've got that solid foundation in place, now we can talk about execution. This is the nitty-gritty, the day-to-day stuff. What is the AI actually going to say on the phone, and how are you going to track if any of it is actually working? Look, a good AI script is not a long, rambling monologue. It's a decision tree. It's got to be tight. And this 4-part structure just works, time and time again. You start with a quick handshake to confirm you've got the right person, then a single sentence, your value spine, that connects one pain point to one benefit. Ask 2 or 3 super tight questions to qualify them. And then make a clear, simple offer, a binary next step. Book a meeting, transfer the call, whatever. No fluff, just a clear path to a yes or a no. And here's how you measure it. Please forget all the shiny vanity metrics like sentiment analysis or whatever. These 5 simple KPIs will tell you the real story. What's your connect rate? How many of those connects are actually with qualified people, your ICP? What's your meeting conversion rate? And then the big ones. How many of those meetings turn into real opportunities? And what's your effective cost to get one? That last one is the killer. If that number isn't better than what your human team is doing, the pilot's a failure. It's really that simple. Right, so we've got our foundation built and we know how to execute. Now it's time to talk about the guardrails. Think of these as the safety nets. They're what's going to protect you from wasting a ton of money, getting into legal trouble, or just creating total chaos for your team. First up, compliance. And let's be super clear, this is not optional. You have to think about it in tiers. Everybody, and I mean everybody, needs the basics in tier 1. We're talking do not call list checks, handling opt-outs, disclosing that it's an AI. If you're in a regulated space like healthcare or finance, you've got extra hoops to jump through in tier 2. And if you're a big enterprise, you're looking at formal risk assessments and audits in tier 3. You've got to know which tier you fall into before you dial a single number. Now, how do you pick a vendor? It really just comes down to your own team's capacity. Do you have a strong in-house RevOps team that loves getting into the weeds with integrations? If so, a standalone AI agent might give you more flexibility. But if you're running a leaner team and you just need something that works out of the box, an all-in-one platform is probably the much safer bet. The key is to be really honest with yourself about what your team can handle. And finally, here's the rollout plan that's going to stop you from lighting $180,000 on fire. It's a simple 90-day plan. In the first 30 days, you're in a sandbox, a small list just focused on tuning the scripts and the data flow, quality over quantity. Then, for the next 30 days, you run a real pilot, comparing the AI's performance side by side with your human SDRs. And then at the end of that 90 days, you make the call, a clear, data-driven decision. Either the ROI is there and you scale it, or it's not and you shut it down. No wishy-washy maybes. And there you have it. We've gone from a total disaster to a complete playbook. So now let's wrap this up with a super practical 15-minute action plan to make absolutely sure you don't repeat that $180,000 mistake. What you've got in your hands now is a playbook that was frankly built from a very, very expensive quarter. You don't need to sit through another sales pitch or watch another slick demo. You now have the right questions to ask and the right framework to make a smart and, more importantly, a safe decision for your company. So here's what I want you to do in the next 15 minutes. Seriously, right after this. 1, write down one single concrete outcome for a potential pilot. 2, grab a pen and paper and sketch out your current outbound data flow, those 4 steps we talked about. And 3, go find that 60-second ROI estimator from the source material and plug in your numbers. Just see if the math even has a chance of working. This little exercise will save you so much time and so many headaches down the road. And that really brings us to the final, most important question you have to ask yourself. The debate isn't about whether AI works anymore. It's about what you're going to point it at. So, are you going to use it to scale a healthy, well-thought-out process? Or are you going to be the next person with a story about how they accidentally spent a fortune just to scale chaos? At the end of the day, that choice is yours.